Transmitting to you from Old Heart Radio.
Morning, hot dogs. That's right. This is another episode of Coffee and Contemplation. Perhaps your favorite podcast. It's okay if it's not. Trust me. I 100% understand. Either way, it is a podcast, an Old Heart Radio podcast. I'm your host, Old Heart, aka Jared, aka I've been running this wonderful little Old Heart Radio for quite some time now. I've gone through, I've worked with other creators. I'm hoping to collaborate with more creators soon. But today on Coffee and Contemplation, we're talking about neither that nor this. We are talking actually about a different subject entirely. And that subject is comic book related. I'm going to say that. Why? Well, thank you. Because I don't know, man. Comic books are always on my mind. I was a comic book kid. Now I'm a comic book man. All right. And so here I am at the end of my work day, thinking, what should I record for a podcast? And the first thing that pops into my head, well, not what we're talking about today. But the first thing that pops into my head, the second thing that popped into my head was Kang the Conqueror. Kang the Conqueror is a fictional comic book character. You might be surprised by that because you've never heard of him. He wasn't taught, that name wasn't taught to you in history class, but it should have been because he is a time-traveling villain. All right, Kang, or aka the 65th greatest comic book villain of all time, which he probably proudly tells crowds, is like he's been around for a while. He's been around in comics for a while. He's kind of I would consider a classic villain. He first showed up in October 1963 in an issue of Fantastic Four, issue number 19, actually. Under one of his AKAs. That's actually one of the things I like about Kang the Conqueror, is he has a ton of AKAs. I love AKAs. I have several, okay? We're not going to get into my AKAs here. That's for a different time. But AKAs are great, you know? A person of many hats. And so, so he showed up technically as this character Rama Tut, which we'll get into later, in October 1963. His first actual adventure or appearance as Kang, aka Kang the Conqueror, was in an issue of Avengers, aka Avengers number 8, and that was in 1964. So, about a year later. Created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, aka the King, aka somebody I just did a podcast about. If you listen to this goddamn podcast, you probably know that. If you don't listen to this podcast, then you're probably not listening to this anyway, and that's fine. So, Kang the Conqueror in comic books is his real name. His actual birth name is Nathaniel Richards, and Nathaniel Richards may or may not be a distant relative of the Fantastic Four's Reed Richards. Don't really know. Only kind of care, but that's not what we're talking about either way. So he's, like I said, he's been around for a while. There's it's kind of like I'm just sort of interested in the fictional character biography that they built for this character. Because it's just so elaborate. I always love when time travel gets too elaborate. It's like the Terminator franchise. They've just crossed themselves over and over and over again. And you're just like, what the fuck is even happening here? I think they even got, what was that one? The one Terminator movie, was it Genesis? I think they really played on that time travel shit. Terrible movie. I feel like the Terminator movies should have. Terminator 2 was fucking awesome, but if you would have just left it at that, those movies would have been legendary. All right, but we're not talking about the Terminator movies. I know. I'm rambling. I just need some more coffee, a little more juice. Perfect. All right. Oh, shout out to the springs on my microphone stand. All right, so Nate Richards, aka Nathaniel Richards, aka a 31st century scholar. So that's the interesting thing about Kang the Conqueror. I want to talk about that because that's the character we're talking about. All right, so Kang the Conqueror has no superpowers. He has no. I mean, he's not a hero. Like, he has no powers whatsoever. He's just really fucking smart, and it's kind of, I gotta respect that. All right, he's an expert historical scholar, a time traveler. He has a genius level intellect. Just fact. He's resistant to radiation. He's also a skilled tactician and hand-to-hand combatant. He has highly advanced battle armor, and that's actually what makes him a little stronger and a little more of like a menace when you're fighting him, because the battle armor gives him not just a 30-day supply of air and food, which is fucking shit. Shout outs to anybody listening out there. You're all fucking awesome. Thank you, you hot dogs. Shout outs to Mariah and Casey. You fucking word up. Shout outs to my homie Avi. Shout outs to, like I said, anybody listening, my friends and family. You're all fucking great. And, you know, shout outs to me. Why not? Why? Because, you know, every good homie deserves a shout out. And, you know, here I am. Whatever. Okay. That's all. I'm just gonna keep moving here. So that not only does his battle armor, does Kang the Conqueror's battle armor give him a 30-day supply of food and air. I don't know where the food comes from, but whatever. It also gives him extra strength. It gives him energy and hologram and force field projection, and he can control other technology and shit. And at one point in time, as Ramatut, he had a willpower gun. He was able to like zap people with it and like take their willpower away. Fucked up, I know. Okay, so back to this dude's history. So Nat Richards discovers Victor Von Doom's time travel technology in the 31st century, and he uses it to go back to Egypt on a Sphinx-shaped time ship, and there he takes on his first AKA, Pharaoh Rama Tut. All right. And he was there to he was hopefully trying to take, apparently, Apocalypse, aka En Saba Noor, as his next of kin or some shit. Anyway, so he gets, like, the Fantastic Four somehow end up in Egypt at the same time and fuck him up, and he's gone. Next, he shows up and takes on the next AKA, Scarlet Centurion. And that's because that's him in these kind of like in an armor-based suit, and there he kind of like fights the Avengers. All right, pits the Avengers against like different versions of themselves. So that's the second appearance of his AKA. He also then finally shows up as Kang the Conqueror. He's got an elaborate fucking history. Fell in love a couple of times. One of them was with Mantis, aka the Celestial Madonna, which is fucking dope. Like, that is a great stage name. I'm the Celestial Madonna, motherfuckers. As well as, like, Jesus, he was like a constant foe of the Avengers and the Fantastic Four. But he just, like, I don't know, he just, I guess it's kind of interesting because they've made him appear in so many different times that even when he's supposedly killed off, there's like an alternate version of him that's like just in a different time or a different reality. So he's just produced so many different like versions of himself basically that he's almost unkillable. It's fucking interesting. At one point in time, he took Black Bolt's son and raised him for life, which is fucking insane. But there's a couple other, like, I guess, important alter egos we gotta get to. Immortus is probably one of the most important ones. Immortus is like I said, kind of one of those like alternate reality versions, a different reality, an alternate version of Kang. And Immortus is from Limbo. All right, so eventually Kang the Conqueror is supposed to become Immortus. Immortus shows up, and how do I explain this? Immortus and Kang are kind of, they interact in like different, like from different times. It's fucking crazy. Anyway, Immortus is supposed to be what Kang becomes at the end of his life. Like that's who, like Kang the Conqueror finally becomes Immortus, and that's the last AKA, right? But that's not the only other AKA. Iron Lad is like a teen version of Kang, and he leads a future self. Wait. I'm sorry. He like learns of a future self that he just doesn't fucking like. And so he goes back in time and tries to form the Young Avengers to stop the future version of himself. It's fucking complicated. But he does this under the guise of Iron Lad. A teen Kang, aka Iron Lad, goes back in time to rally the Young Avengers to go fight his future self, aka Kang the Conqueror. Alright? Got that? Alright, Ramatut though, like I said, Ramatut, probably the other big AKA. So that was his first AKA. He went to Egypt and took up that name and ruled Egypt. All right, who the fuck does that? Like, this dude discovers time travel in the 31st century, and he's like, you know what? I'm just gonna go enslave Egypt. They want a fucking pharaoh. I'll give them a pharaoh. What a fucking prick. So he goes to Egypt and rules over Egypt. Later in his life though, Kang he's like reminiscing of old days, and he just wants to go back. So he goes back to Egypt and rules as Ramatut. And that's where the whole Celestial Madonna issue plays out. Eventually Kang, moves on from Ramatut. There's one more, Victor Timely. This is kind of an interesting one. So Kang basically gets tired of all the time travel. So he invented a persona, an AKA called Victor Timely, and that's a mayor of a 1910 Northern Illinois town, and he just goes there sometimes to just take it easy, to take a break from everything else. Isn't that fucking crazy? He just goes, pops in, and just he's like the mayor of this town for a while. He's just like, oh god, I just gotta take a load off. But there, he influences the dude that eventually creates the first Human Torch. So they kind of tie everything together, which is how I'm gonna end this podcast. What? Kang the Conqueror? We talked about it. Why? Because it was on my mind. And that's it. This has been another episode of Coffee and Contemplation. You hot dogs are fucking amazing. Thank you for listening. I hope you go out there and use your brain for good, because every day is a good day to ripen up your coconut. Never forget that. Go out there and learn something, you assholes. And as they say, keep your stick on the ice.